Hello, everybody. Charles Hamaker here with you from Circling Seattle Sports. We're going to try to do another one of these Mariners game reacts. Not walking around Pioneer Square today, which is nice. We're well past the ballpark being closed at this point to the general public. I think they're getting ready to do a concert here, but we'll get into it. Mariners win this one 1-0 once again. The third consecutive shutout for the Mariners. It's the first time in franchise history that they've recorded a shutout in 3 consecutive games. They sweep the Pirates aside. I know I had talked about it, I think, at the end of the Royals series. Pittsburgh coming into this one, having won 6 straight, having won 8 of their last 10. They were not, this team to be kind of written off or pushed over. The Mariners didn't necessarily push them over. I mean, yes, it's a sweep, but it's not like, they came out and, blew them out in every single game. Obviously, the last 2 games being 1-0 victories. I think Alex Mayer with Mariners PR put out a tweet that it was the first time in franchise history that the team has won back-to-back 1-0 games. So that's pretty remarkable. But obviously the headlines, we'll get into talking about the game itself here. The headlines were on the starting pitching. Paul Skeens obviously on the Pittsburgh side of things, and George Kirby on the Mariners side of things. Now, MLB did post Skeens' outing, 10 strikeouts across 5 innings, but he only went the 5 innings, which I thought was interesting. 78 pitches, 52 strikes. Kind of on the quieter side. Talked to a few of the Pirates media here in the press box, and they were saying that, he'd kind of been on the heavier workload side of things in his last few outings. And I guess the general manager of the Pirates said on the radio during this game that they wanted Skeens to pitch in the All-Star game. I imagine he would start for the National League. So, I mean, from that regard, it makes sense. But I was kind of surprised to see him not go deeper into this game. He pitched well. He did give up 5 hits, which was interesting. Dom Canzone having 2 of them, which not something I expected. J.P. Crawford led the game off, or the bottom of the first off with a single. Cal Raleigh was hit by a pitch, and Jorge Polanco singled to load the bases, but Randy Arozarena flew out, unfortunately. Julio doubled in the third. Dom Canzone singled in the second. And then he singled again in the 5th. So, kind of funny. They were able to get some traffic. A few guys were able to work deeper counts. They got him to, I think hit 20 pitches in the first inning, which is good. Eat into the pitch count. Against a guy like him, you have to, right? They were able to do that. I'm not saying they were successful. Again, no runs, no walks, 10 punch-outs. It's not great. But, I mean, against one of the greatest pitchers in the game right now, one of the best pitchers in the game right now, not necessarily mad at it. It's going to be really difficult to go against the guy. Excuse me. So you have to be able to, when someone is like that level of player, you have to, kind of mitigate them, hope to contain them. You can't just fully stop the guy. And they didn't. They got to the Pirates bullpen, and immediately into that is when the Mariners got their run in the bottom of the 6th. With 2 outs, Randy Arozarena hits a solo homer to left field, makes it 6 homers on the homestand. Funny enough, 11 of his 14 homers have come here at T-Mobile Park, which is not something that I would have expected, but here we are. And that's all that the Mariners would get, really. A bunch of instances of, minimal traffic. Julio reached third base off of his double in the 3rd. Obviously, the first, I think, was the most traffic that they had. Nothing after Randy in the 6th. The Canzone single in the 7th, and then nothing in the 8th. So, I think I talked about it last night, but they do continue to generate traffic. That is something that is real for them. But obviously you want to be able to push it across. I think Buddy Taryn with Sports Illustrated mentioned it post-game to Dan, just how encouraging is it to see that you are generating traffic, that you are, creating runners and putting pressures on opposing starting pitchers, which is what they were doing during their series win streak earlier in the season. So hopefully that's something that's able to continue on as they move forward. That's kind of it on the offensive side of things. Nice to see Julio have the double in this one. No, I think I'll go. Oh, no, not bases loaded in the first. That's right, because J.P. Crawford and Cal on in the first inning with one out, and then Jorge Polanco singled for his 1,000th career hit. And J.P. Crawford was sent home with O'Neal Cruz in center field. Yep, O'Neal Cruz in center field making the throw. It was a really good throw. I think the miles per hour is 106, so no slouch of a throw there. The only interesting thing is Pittsburgh catcher Henry Davis was standing up to receive the throw from center and make the tag on JP. JP was standing when he tried to run into home. A lot of folks were pretty critical of Randy Arozarena in the on-deck circle for not telling him to slide or get down, which, sure, understandable. And then the Mariners, so he was tagged out. He was tagged before he was able to get his foot on home plate, which was left technically exposed through the legs of Henry Davis, the catcher for Pittsburgh, as I mentioned. The Mariners challenged the play for essentially blocking. We went to review, and review determined that he wasn't obstructing the plate enough. I believe the argument, talking to a few folks in the press box, was that there was enough of a space for JP to have slid through his legs there at home plate, so that's why that was taken off the board, or ruled and out initially and then confirmed upon replay review. So yeah, there was that, and that was kind of the vast majority of it. Canzone did reach third in the seventh off of a single wild pitch from the Pittsburgh bullpen, and then got moved over to third on a ground out by Miles Mastrobuoni, but J.P. Crawford struck out. It was a weird day for J.P. Crawford. Before we talk about George and the Mariners pitching, weird day for J.P. Crawford. That weird play at home plate, right? He had a bad throw. Where is this? In this third inning, he had a bad throw that nearly, went wide of Luke Raley, who's not a small human being, mind you, at first base. Luke had to jump up and catch it, and then spin to tag the runner and Henry Davis at first base to get that first out. And then Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, the 9-hole hitter, hits somewhat routine ground ball to J.P. Crawford. He's unable to field it cleanly and get a grip on it to make the throw, and he reaches on an air. Thankfully, George Kirby, who was pitching today for the Mariners, was able to get Spencer Horwitz to fly out and Andrew McCutchen to strike out to nullify that. But that would kind of continue the bad day for J.P. During his next plate appearance, he would swing and his bat would go flying into the first base side behind the home dugout, which, funny enough, they didn't let the fans keep the bat. I think it was still fully intact, so maybe that's why. If it was broken, they would have left it. But I thought it was weird. I'm like, hey, if I'm going to have to wear, being hit by a bat at a ball game, I would hope that I get to at least keep the bat. But I guess that wasn't the case. They ended up taking the bat. I don't know if they ended up getting a bat back, a different one. So that was kind of unfortunate. Oh yeah, and otherwise, he struck out in the third where he threw the bat. He reached on a fielder's choice in the fifth, but then he struck out again in the seventh. Just not the greatest day for J.P. Crawford. Unfortunately that one was kind of tough. Offensively, trying to see if there's anything too crazy here. Not really. It was a DH day for Cal. He only reached on the hit by pitch in the first inning from Skeens. Jorge Polanco singled for his 1,000th career hit. Randy continues to hit the ball well. If you can keep him going, it's going to be big for them. And the weird 3-hit day for Dom Canzone that I didn't notice until I was looking at my scorebook here after the game had ended. George Kirby, though, we'll get to that on the mound for the Mariners in this one. George, over the last month or so, his last few starts has looked like George Kirby, the George Kirby that we're used to, the all-star level George Kirby, the guy that dominates and gets all of these Kirby memes made for him because of his pitching prowess. 6 1/3 innings in this one for George. Only 4 hits allowed, no runs, no walks, 9 strikeouts. So he went toe-to-toe with Skeens, very much so, as I thought he maybe would last night when I was doing this, walking through Pioneer Square. 93 pitches, 66 strikes, really leaned on the slider in this one. Slider looked good. He was able to execute how he wanted. Dan Wilson post-game credited him for, really having control of all of his off-speed stuff, and he really did. I mean, 2 strikeouts in the first, give up the single to McCutchen early. Andrew McCutchen, consummate professional, right? So was able to get that, but then strikes out Brian Reynolds and gets Nick Gonzalez to fly out, strikes out the side in the second. Talks about the third in that weird inning, faces the minimum in the fourth. Got into some trouble. In the fifth inning, Tommy Pham singled, was retired on a putout. Jared Triolo, the guy who was playing third base for the Pirates in this game and then moved to first base later, reached on a fielder's choice. Then Henry Davis singled to have runners on the corners. I don't know what that sound was. With 1 out, before he got Isaiah Kiner Falefa to fly out, and then Spencer Horwitz to pop out to Miles Mastrobuoni over at third base. So then in the third inning, faces the minimums. It gets McCutchen to fly out, gets Brian Reynolds and Nick Gonzalez to strike out. Before in the seventh, gets O'Neill Cruz a ground out before a Tommy Pham single ultimately ended his game there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. So no, he looked good. He looked good. He was able to be the George Kirby that we know he can be. That's all I need, given the struggles of this rotation, the inconsistencies, some of the inefficiencies, particularly with Logan Gilbert, of course, and the injuries, of course, that they faced, on top of trying to live up to the historic 2024 that seemingly they all had. They're starting to look more like who we know them as. I don't need them to be historic every night, but needed them to be better than they have been. And they're starting to get there, especially George. So, that was really nice to see. I don't know if there's anything. It's his third consecutive quality start, and he's allowed 1 or fewer runs in 3 consecutive starts for the second time in his career, previously July 13th to 25th of last year. So there's that. He's got 33 outings of 6+ innings with no walks since 23, most in Major League Baseball, and 8 more than the next closest. He's not allowed to walk in 40 career starts, ranking 4th all-time in franchise history. He looked good. He looked good in this one. For the 3-game series, the Mariners starting pitchers of Brian Wu, Luis Castillo, and George Kirby threw 19.1 combined scoreless innings, allowing 9 hits with 25 strikeouts and just 2 walks. This sweep of Pittsburgh was their 5th sweep of the season. They're now 3-0-2 in their last 5 series, 3 wins, 2 ties, 2 split series. And then kind of interesting. Bullpen here. Carlos Vargas comes in, gives up a hit. In the 7th. Go back to that. I was a little concerned. You get Tommy Pham over to second base with 1 out. Thankfully, he was able to get Jared Triolo to line out, and then Henry Davis to fly out to right field to make that somewhat quiet. Gabe Spire looked great. 3 strikeouts in this one. He continues to put on a great year. I was talking with Kate from Lookout Landing, and we were talking about before they got announced today. Oh yeah, that's right. There were 3 All-Stars announced today. We'll get to that. You're talking about potential guys that would be named All-Stars, and she was like, well, what about, obviously Andres. We had hoped that Brian Wu would make it. Maybe Gabe Spire, he's had a really great year, and after the kind of struggles he had last season, not really looking like himself, the velo was down. It's nice to see Gabe Spire look a lot better, and as the only guy left-handed reliever in your bullpen, like, he's been great for Seattle this year. And then Andres Munoz collects his 21st save of the season. A couple little wonky pitches here and there, but he gets the job done, collects his 21st save of the season. If you don't know, every save, $200 gets donated to SAFE. It's a feline clinic here in the Seattle area. We're up to $4,200 with his 21 saves on the season so far. So that is pretty cool as well. Yeah, that's kind of it for this one. That Randy Homer in the 6th was the decider. The Mariners pitching was great. They get the sweep of this Pittsburgh team. I guess the only other thing is to talk about the All-Stars for the Mariners. In addition to Cal Raleigh, obviously the starting catcher for the American League at the All-Star game this year. Andres Munoz, clear and obvious. Brian Wu, thought was kind of a long shot, but really glad to see it. And then Julio Rodriguez will join Cal, making it 4 Mariners. First time since 2018 that the Mariners have sent 4 players to the All-Star game. It's tied with the Tigers for the most in the American League, and is tied for the second most in all of baseball behind the Dodgers. So I'll talk a little bit about each of them. Andres, he's had such a great year. It's been so nice to see him not only, pitching this well and having this success, but also being healthy. I mean, last year he dealt with the back issue and he had the ankle issue. He did tell us pregame when we were talking to him after we found out that he was an all-star, that he has to wear a brace. I think is it an ankle brace. I think he motioned to his chest, so maybe he has to wear a back brace as well, or he does it precautionarily. But that was somewhat interesting to me. But yeah, he's just looked so good. Obviously been huge for the Mariners bullpen at the back end of things, and has this solidified closer role, which the Mariners the last few years, like under Scott Service, didn't really have a set closer role. But it's Andres has talked about it this year. He likes knowing when he's pitching, that helps him more than just maybe randomly getting called in. So that's been interesting to me. Brian Wu, easily the Mariners' best starting pitcher this season. He's just been so reliable for them throughout the course of the year. He's been so huge for what they've needed. And he's all 17 starts, going 6 or more innings, has just looked downright dominant so often. Interesting. So really glad for him, not only my personal bias and Asian representation, but just knowing the journey that he's been on since college. Didn't have great college numbers, has dealt with some injuries in the past. Obviously last year was tough because you saw how great he could be, but limited by those injuries. So really happy for Brian in that regard. And then with Julio, I as soon as we found out that he was named to the team, I knew there was going to be discourse, and there will be discourse all season about it. I understand it. I do. I have to watch him struggle offensively at the plate here every game here at home, and then on the road, right? I get it. I do. We all know he can be a lot better. But I think some of the discourse, it is okay to admit he needs to be better. He knows that he needs to be better. It's okay to admit that he needs to grow. He knows that. But it's also, you have to, the folks who are saying should be DFA'd or foolish, right? I mean, his defense has been elite this year. He continues to be a big impact on the base pass. So that's that. He really has been elite defensively, and he has been in years past, but he's gotten better this year, which is pretty remarkable. So, yeah, those are my quick thoughts on that. I'm sure I'll do more of it in a later video, but yeah, this is probably the longest Mariners game react we've ever done. So, hope you enjoyed. They'll go on the road now. I'm going to try to, I imagine we should be able to do these on the road. I'll just be at home, not here at the ballpark. So, yeah, until we see you next time, take care of yourselves, be well, do whatever you can to make today a great day.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, how about those M's?
Oh, I'm excited.
I know. Where are you going to watch all those away games, though?
Away games. Huh. I was thinking of coming here since, after all, Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports.
I love that idea. Hope to see y'all here.